Another season of Halloween Haunt is just around the corner at Kings Island, but will it be scary? Or will it continue its trend and become a Hello Boo Boo Kitty event? Hello, everyone. Alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about. So where do we start?
Well, Ryan, let's talk about, Halloween Haunt was introduced in 2007. It was kind of an elevated experience from what had been Fear Fest at that time. Blood, terror, gore, no one, nothing off limits, very intense type of an event. But over the last maybe 5, 6 years, it's kind of become a lot softer. You see a lot of families in that there now, a lot of little kids, roaming around the event. So it's more of a fun type of event than scary. One of the questions that I get a lot from Kings Island fans is, what are you hearing about Haunt this year? Is it going to be dialed up a little bit? Is it going to go back to what it used to be? Or should I just go to the Dead Schoolhouse, for my scares because they don't find it scary? So that's something that, I'm interested in seeing, what they do with it this year. I know that the Six Flags parks historically have had really good Halloween events. Uh, their monsters and the mazes and that are really good. The scare zones are really good. I mean, it's a lot more intense than what we've witnessed over the last 5 or 6 years at Kings Island. So some people were asking me, do you think it's going to be dialed up now because of the merger net? I think it's probably too soon, for that to happen. Maybe next year we would see something like that. But I don't know. I mean, we've seen the other parks announce what they're doing. Kings Dominion, Carowinds. Some of the other parks have already said, here's our new Dorney Park. Here's our, mazes and scare zones this year. Here's what's new. We haven't seen anything out of Kings Island yet as of this recording on what Halloween Haunt 2024 is going to consist of.
Yeah, it seems like Kings Island's the last to announce everything nowadays. I'm not really sure why, but I don't think it really works to their advantage, at least within the communities in which we roll, because we haven't had a word that if they're doing Oktoberfest or not, but if they did announce that they were doing it, it would be old news because we heard about that from King's Dominion, whatever. So if there is something that's chain wide, if they're the last to announce it, then it's old news. But let me ask you this. So, the decline of Haunt from a scary standpoint has been steady over several years now. So you were there for part of it. Is it your understanding that the intention was to make it less scary? Or is it just that there's less money put into it, so it's less scary? Like, what are your thoughts?
It kind of just evolved into that. And I think, you also look at who your audience is. And Cincinnati's a little bit different market than, Atlanta, Georgia, and Chicago, and, some of these other places where, it just doesn't seem like that person that's coming just for the scares. That's not what the majority of the makeup is of the Halloween Haunt crowd. So it is more families, people using their season passes. They enjoy the rides as much as they do the mazes. So it's become more of a fun type, fun scary instead of scary, is how it's kind of evolved into. And it's not been a bad thing. I mean, it works. They're still getting the attendance. It's not like people have stopped going. So what they're doing, that formula works. It's just not as intense as maybe some people would like it to be, or living up to that name, Halloween Haunt. It's not necessarily a the most immersive, scary Halloween event in the region anymore. It was 2007 to maybe 2015, 16. But it's kind of worked its way down. It's softer. I think part of the problem is maybe the staffing isn't there for the mazes. It's a disappointment for guests when they wait 45 minutes or so, or they buy the Fright Lane and they go through like a Killmart or a Slaughterhouse, and there's two monsters, two scare actors in there. That's kind of disappointing. I think the scare zones have been pretty good, over the past few years. You see enough of the scare actors in that through there. But the mazes, they just don't have enough monsters, the scare actors in there to really pull off an effective, scary kind of maze anymore. It's just, you keep going around the corner, you keep saying, come on, scare me, and you just don't see anybody, right?
Yeah. to say the least, yes. But yeah, my thought that I have in response to what you were saying about how the event has evolved into this is, do you think that the people of the area have fundamentally changed and society in the Cincinnati market has decided we want something more tame? Or do you think that as the product has declined, the word has gone out like Halloween Haunt isn't very scary, and it's set away the people that are wanting to be scared and stuff, and so they go to Land of Illusion and Dent Schoolhouse and so on. And it's like, well, I can bring my 5-year-old there now. It's not very scary according to everybody. I think that it might be a
Yeah,
mixture of the two, really.
yeah, it's definitely opened that up to where the families, the guests with the young children have, come to realize that they can go to this event. It's not over the top scary. It's not gory. There's nothing really, that you would deem offensive in the park. So I think that has opened up, for that demographic, more of those guests to come, and those that are really looking for those scares are going to go to those other places that you mentioned, or they might go, take that trek 4 hours, north and go to Cedar Point, Halloween weekends. Their event, their haunt, is still, I would consider it on the scary level, and there's very good staffing in all of the mazes there. But like I said, you go through some of the mazes at Kings Island. There's a lot of times, you aren't going to see more than two in some of those mazes, and that disappoints those guests who are there for the scares, and they've invested that time going through the maze. It's a short night, 6 to midnight, 6 hours. So if you're waiting 45 minutes and you go through 4 or 5 mazes, I mean, your night's almost gone right there. So you expect a little bit better product that way if you're there for the scares. But for the families, it works for them because they love getting their photos and the selfies with the different scare actors on the midways and that. So it's kind of evolved into that to where it's more of a fun night out, for families in the greater Cincinnati area. And that's not a bad thing necessarily.
Well, my fear, and again, without having access to the calculus behind this, it's hard for me to say, but my fear would be that the people that, because Haunt draws more people than any other season per night. There's more people packed into the park, at least the dry park. Let's say per square foot, because we're not taking the water park into account. How many of those are people that bought a ticket rather than having a season pass now versus 10 years ago? Because my concern would be somebody that would purchase a ticket to go to Kings Island and not. This is my fear with all this stuff. If Winterfest degrades, if Haunt degrades, anything like that, then they're not drawing people that might buy a ticket. Those people will go somewhere else. They'll go to Dent Schoolhouse. They'll go to wherever else does Christmas, which is like, look around. There's probably 3 Christmas events being set up around you right now. But the people that will show up are the ones that are already sunk the cost. They're season pass holders. So therefore, your season pass mix goes up, and more people using the meal plans and fewer people buying meals and playing games and stuff like that. Because if the product is only good enough for $100 for a whole season rather than, $50 for a day, then that's when you market to a group, that's what you get. And it's very unfortunate, I feel like, that in a lot of cases, some parks are begging you, please, right now is that time. Renew your season pass now. For the love of God, renew your season pass. And 6 months from now, you'll be a burden to them. So that's my concern. It's they degrade these events for Haunt and maybe Winterfest or whatever. And we haven't seen the lineup for Winterfest yet, so we don't know if this is going to happen. But they degrade them, and then under the mentality of, oh, it's season pass holders only. They'll show up regardless, and then you get what you pay for. It's a monkey's paw. So, and then it justifies not doing the event or cutting back even further, or do you see where I'm coming from with that?
Oh, I do. I think too, from the park, and you have to decide what you want it to be. I mean, if you want it to be about families and that, just make it a little bit, just expand Tricks and Treats Fall Fest and just make it more about that. You keep the park open, get those night rides. I mean, that's a big draw right now, as much as any of the other things going on, is you get those night rides on the Beast, on Diamondback, on Orion, Adventure Express, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated night rides out there in the planet. But you have that nighttime experience. I think with the fog and that, the atmosphere is really good. But I think you could get away with that if you wanted to make it more about Tricks and Treats Fall Fest. You have the scare zones in that, but I don't know that you need to call it Halloween Haunt. To draw the crowds. I think you just focus on the families and you focus on those rides that you're going to get to ride at night and the elevated experience. With the fog and all of that, and again, you do have those scare zones and things. So I mean, there's different ways that they could play it, but I think they're at that point now that you kind of need to take a step back and kind of evaluate, what do you really want this to be in the fall?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be scary to work. There's a lot of people that love that, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think if you look at your season pass base, who's coming to the park, those can be some pretty easy decisions to make there on that front, I think. But I don't know. I mean, we haven't heard anything about it. I'd like to see it, much better staffed than it has been in the mazes. I think that would really enhance the experience a little bit. But when you're talking about the most immersive, horror experience in the Midwest, and that it's not that anymore. So I would kind of change the language a little bit there. The way they market and promote it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too isn't necessarily that it's not scary; it's that it's stale. Let me give you Exhibit A. So Kmart is a playoff Kmart, and I bet a lot of the people that go through this maze do not know what Kmart is because it's been so long. I think it's a great maze. I think it was a great idea, but I think it's been done. Is 10 years enough for your haunted house? Exhibit B, Madame Fatale's Cavern of Terror. One of the more detailed mazes Kings Island has ever and will ever have. It's 15 years or so on this one now. And this used to be awesome.
That one needs an upgrade. Yeah, that needs to be changed down, I think. I think you have maybe about a 4 or 5 year lifespan with most of the mazes. You might have one staple that you can keep year after year after year and not worry about changing it because it's your signature maze.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like you have your signature ride, your signature food item. Right now the Hotel St. Michel, I think that can be your staple maze that is always there, and people are going to want to do it every year because it's long, it is kind of immersive, and that is the one that they do staff pretty well, is that one. But the Kmarts and Madame Fatale, some of these other ones, you can certainly swap those out every 3-4 years and keep it fresh, keep every year have maybe 2 new type mazes.
Yeah, and it seems like Urgent Scare was only swapped out of necessity because there's no way, no one at that park is dumb enough to have Urgent Scare coming out of the pandemic. But it was changed. Fortunately, it was for the better because I think that Hotel St. Michel.
That's the best maze I think that they've had is Hotel St. Michel. That was so well done. Very nice backstory to it. A lot of thought went into it,
mm-hmm.
and you'd like to see that for every maze in the park.
Right. So what I would do is I'd like to see them changed every year. I know that's not realistic. So let's go with your number of every 3 to 4 years. And then if you do want to have staple, let's say Hotel St. Michel, I would change it up every year. Not substantially, but at least so it's worth going through in 2001 and 2002. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then that way, none of the mazes are more than a couple years old. They're more, if you only want to run 8, that's fine. Or how many do they have now? Like 6?
I think it's 6. I don't think you need more than 6, 7 mazes. I think that's plenty. I don't think you need to have 13 or anything like that, or 10.
If you mix them, I think you do.
Scare zone, if that's the hard thing.
Well, I completely understand why. I think going down to 6 was a little budgetary, but going down from 13, was it you guys or was it Paramount that did 13? I think it was you.
Yeah, we had.
I like how I hope you're personally responsible for all of Cedar Fair for.
Yeah, we had 13 at one time. That was a good number to play off of. Was 13, but you look at that was including the scare zone, so maybe 9 mazes it was 9 mazes, 4 scare zones at that time. But I think that I'd rather have 5 or 6 mazes that are very well done, are staffed very well with the scare actors,
mm-hmm.
than have stretch it out and have 9 just so you can tout a number. I'd rather have it the quality over the quantity. I think is important.
Yeah,
and I think decor wise in that, I think they've done that gets better every year, I think, with the decor. It's more polished than it's ever been. You have professionals, now on the entertainment team doing, the early years, it was, the marketing team, and, you had the fire and safety team, and you had the finance team. They were all responsible for certain areas of the park, and that, I think now, it's a much more, polished look, very professional, looking. I think the decor in the park, I think it's outstanding. I think it looks great at night with everything around the park with what they have. Entertainment wise, I'm one of those people that, miss Hot Blooded. I thought that was kind of that show that had that cult following. And, you'd always see the bigger crowds. The later at night it got, the bigger the crowds, were. Those midnight shows were always, packed with the Haunt diehards. They miss it. That core group that, came for Haunt, they miss Hot Blooded. But, they have Nightwalkers in there. That's a nice show. But I think the Fest House show, that's maybe gotten a little stale. Monster Rock. I think that needs to be, updated, changed out, and, kind of freshen that up a little bit. But the entertainment, it's good, but it's still, to me, what Haunt has become is, it's more the families are going there. You don't have the rides and Planet Snoopy open, so you don't have that. But you do have, those signature rides, the Beast, Diamondback, Orion, and you've got your food opportunities, your dining plan, and that. So it's a good time. No matter what direction it ends up going this year, if it continues to be on that, more family friendly path, or they go back and they do some things that makes it more of a scary type of an event. But either way, it's a good time.
I honestly don't think that the tameness of it is entirely intentional, because I think if they were going to go the direction you're talking about, they'd keep Planet Snoopy open.
But what about there's no the Naboo necklaces?
That is what they call a cash grab in the business. They ruin their own event to sell those necklaces.
Yeah, that's kind of killed the vibe of the event, because you've got the scare actors on the street and they start to go up the side. Nope, got a Naboo, I can't go there. So I think that's kind of messed it up a little bit. To me, I would like to see it to where, if you're in the event, you're in it. Once you come through the front gate, you're in it. Sorry. If the monster wants to come up and scare you, they can scare you. So I think that has kind of hurt it when you see so many people walking around with the Naboo necklaces, especially through the scare zones. It takes away from that, because you might be 2 or 3 feet behind somebody that's got that, but they're not going to come towards you because people in front of you or right behind you have Naboo necklaces on.
Right. And I understand the official policies that Noboos do not work in the mazes, but the scare actors are told, if you see someone with a Naboo, don't scare them, because they'll complain. So it does. It ruins everybody else's experience. So personally, I think that they have a greeter-ish person, the person that gives them the spiel at the beginning of every maze. I think that person should be responsible for saying, turn off your Naboo necklace, and by the way, they're still going to scare you in here. I think that would be a completely fair and balanced way to handle this whole thing.
That would help. That would enhance the experience if there was somebody that was letting everyone know that you go inside this maze, you're part of that experience. There's Naboo is not, doesn't work in here.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty good. So let me ask the listeners. So what direction would you like to see Haunt go? Do you want it to get scary again? Or do you want to see it get a little bit more family friendly? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I was having one of the pass holders who has been going there for years. Big Haunt fan, but they're somebody that really likes it, really scary. So I was at Coney Barbecue, and they asked if they could just sit down and join me for dinner, and I said sure. So we just started talking, and they were asking me about Haunt, and that's where the Hello Boo Boo Kitty comes in, because they said, so I got to ask you, is it going to be scary, or is it going to be Hello Boo Boo Kitty again? Because if it is, I can just go to these other things around town. I'd rather be scared than come here and go through a maze, and people are just saying hi.
Yeah, they say hi in the scariest way. But if you don't want to look scary, what's a good t-shirt you could wear?
You want to wear a Tower Topics t-shirt. It's still warm enough in the fall to wear a Tower Topics t-shirt most nights. Comes in a Carolina blue color, It is $22. That includes shipping. So if you want one, just send us a direct message on our X, which is tower_topics, and we'll send you the QR code. And once you make your purchase, you'll get your shirt within a matter of days.
Awesome. Yeah, $22 including shipping. So it's a heck of a deal. We love seeing that kind of support around the parks, out in public and at other parks and all the other places we've seen those shirts. We'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question. Erin E. from Morrow, Ohio. She said, 7 new coasters are planned for Six Flags Parks for 2025. When's it our turn? There's been nothing but to be excited about since Orion, which is essentially just a taller Diamondback. Wow. Well, I don't think you can give her an exact answer.
No, we can't. But I think, when you say there's been nothing to be excited about since Orion, I mean, there's been some things that, since then that have been exciting. I think, this year for the families, the family coaster, Snoopy Soapbox Racers, I think that has been a great addition to the park. What the park has been doing, with Adventureport, freshening up that area. You added 2 flat rides. That's been something that's been lacking at Kings Island. They still need more flat rides, but they added 2 flat rides for 2023 with Soul Spin and Cargo Loco. So they've been doing a lot of things that I think overall enhances the guest experience. You can't put in a big major roller coaster every year. It's not a bottomless pit with the money. So you can't, put in these 25, 30, $40 million coasters every year. But I think your time will come. When is it your turn? Your time will come. And I think there's a plot of land that everybody knows that's been sitting there vacant since 2019. That is a prime spot to put something, new and big and everything in there. And, give it I think another couple years, 3 years, I think we might see something in that spot. Again, we don't know, but I think, everything works on timing, and you look at historically what the park does. They've addressed the kids area this year. They're addressing water park next year. They did the flat rides the year before. We saw some things, improvements with restaurants and things. So, when you look at the timing and the cycle and how it historically goes, it's just around the corner, I think, before you see another roller coaster of that's not a family type, but more of a thrill type of coaster coming in.
Yeah, hopefully they won't try to build another family giga coaster like last time. Next question. Larry J. from Lebanon, Ohio. I almost read that as Larry J. Lebanon from Ohio, by the way. Don, of all the ride announcements you were involved with at Kings Island and Cedar Fair, which one was your favorite and why?
So he's saying all
of your
Cedar
new
Fair,
ride
the other ones I did?
Yeah.
Okay, I would. My favorite was announcing Gold Striker at California's Great America. I went out there to be the interim PR manager. They had not had a full-time PR person there for 3 or 4 years before I went out there. And you go out there, you have no contacts with anybody in the media, so you're starting from scratch there, trying to let everybody know that you have this major new roller coaster. It's going to open at California's Great America. So you were talking like Oakland, San Francisco, Berkeley, San Jose, all those different markets out there that I'm reaching out to the media. And some of them, when I, called them to make that connection and, introduce myself and let them know what was, going to happen with the announcement day. Someone said, California's Great America. I haven't heard from them from 6 years, things like that. So I think sometimes, when there were successes at Kings Island, sometimes there were, there was an individual, sometimes they would say, well, successful because you work at Kings Island. It's easy to get media coverage at Kings Island. I had somebody tell me that one time. Somebody said it's easy to get media coverage because we're Kings Island. So, so to be able to go out there and not know anybody and do the things that I had done at Kings Island, and when I helped out at, Carowinds for the opening of Intimidator, and then Fury 325, Cedar Point with Gatekeeper, that to get up on the stage to announce this new ride at California's Great America and look out and see 14 television stations out there from the Bay Area and a lot of different writers and radio and everything, and to see how excited the California Great America staff was. To have, it'd been a while since they had anything new too. So to see how excited they were to see this turnout, everything from the media, I think that was probably, what I enjoyed the most was that the things that I did worked, and I could do what I do, go anywhere in a company and, make a new ride announcement or a ride launch, and have it be successful.
Very cool. Yeah. And it's so far from home too. So, it's replicatable in other markets.
Yeah, I knew nobody. I just went out there and I just, started going through and making phone calls and, building a media. There wasn't even a media list, so I had to go through and start from scratch. So that was the most rewarding thing for me, is because I got the same exact results at a place that I wasn't from and didn't know anybody that I did at Kings Island or at Carowinds when Intimidator opened.
Perfect. Cool. Hey, I'm Ryan Sir along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.